been living here for 25 years. I first heard of Egypt when I was a very small child, 9 years old. My teacher did a project on ancient Egypt, and the entire class took 2 lessons a week for a year on ancient Egypt, and I was smitten. I was very, very keen, and even after the project I still studied Egyptology as a hobby. When I was about 18, 19, my father said we should go on holiday somewhere abroad, and of course I wanted to come to Egypt. So we came here in 85 and landed at the airport, and the heat and the smell was just something totally new. It was amazing. And we came to Cairo. Cairo was very, very noisy, very noisy. Never experienced anything like that. So we were a little bit afraid, really. We went to the museum, which was really good. But then we went to Luxor, and Luxor was absolutely amazing. At that time, the Corniche hadn't been built, and you could walk along the Nile, and if you wanted to get a boat, you crossed on a little wooden board. We went to Valley of the Kings. So that was my first holiday. We loved Luxor so much that basically thereafter we flew direct to Luxor. We stayed in Luxor. The first trip, of course, we saw everything. We went to Esna, Edfu, Komumbo, we did the whole trip. And we came like 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a year between 85 and 95. Now, I took the decision to move here after my father passed, and I arrived in November, and November 95, and I had 13 packing cases of paints, brushes, books. Now, the first thing I noticed in Luxor was the way the mountains changed. The mountains, they would be green, and then there would be ochre, and another time there would be purple and blue, and it was a mixture of sunlight and shadows. It was totally amazing. And trying to capture those colours, you could just paint the mountains day after day. It reminded me of Monet's haystacks, just an ever-changing now. I lived in Luxor from 95 to 2000 on the West Bank, and I built a villa. Then in 2000 I came to live in Cairo. Cairo settled down a bit, or I'd got used to it, I'm not sure which. But Cairo is really actually very nice. I like Cairo now. And I lived here and got married to my lady wife. And I stayed in Cairo until 2007. I had some exhibitions in Cairo. One at the Atelier, the Cairo Atelier. And then I went to Alexandria. Alexandria, it's nice, but it's not like it was. And I lived in Alex for 7 years. It was nice. In 2017, I came back to Cairo. I've been to Master Alam. That was nice. That was empty at the time. I remember being offered land in Hurghada in 1985. Hurghada's nice. I liked Hurghada. It's a new city, a new place. The light's great. First time, we drove to not Alexandria, Aswan. We drove to Aswan across the desert from Luxor. And we went in a Peugeot 305, I believe. And that was quite a trip, up and down, up and down, up and down. And it was totally empty. That was the first time I went to Aswan. I was lucky enough to get invited to Aswan with the Ostraka exhibition there, and that was an amazing trip. The great thing about Aswan is the light on the water and the shadows on the desert. The water seems to sparkle like little diamonds just dancing on the top of the water, and the depth and the clarity. You can even see the fish. I mean, it's so clean and clear. Aswan's a lovely place, really. Luxor was good because of the amount of ancient things. You know, I had a lot of inspiration from all the monuments. It's just amazing that there's so much history standing. You know, it's just there to be seen, and I must think everybody's so proud to have that, you know, have that history and that past, that character, you know, that builds a nation and its people. But it's not just the ancient things, it's modern things as well that influence you. Watching people in a coffee shop or shopping in the street, when they're buying a sheep, all these different things that they have an influence on your painting, the way you depict things. My painting is very bright. I like very bright. I tend to include a lot of ancient idioms, ideas, because it's the history that makes us what we are. We interpret life through how we're taught to see things at a very, very young age. And that influences my art, my painting, the way I depict something. I like to combine reality with dream, with what if, the idea of the continuation from the history until now, the way that things influence us, and how everything is one thing. You know, people separate things into this and that, but in reality they're all made out of the same thing, you know, a bunch of atoms, and we're all a bunch of atoms, and everything is. And in the end, we're all one, we're all the same. It's only our individuality that makes us different. I try and put this idea, this concept, into painting. How are things similar and yet different? If you look at any country, any nation, it has its own style, it has its own character, and that character is only from that area. My paintings tend to be bright. I like something to be seen. I like something to be of itself. It is what I'm creating, and it's based on my concept of now, or of what we exist in this moment, how we exist in this moment. And most of my art tends to be not religious, the humanity of humans, you know, the in concept of itself from its predetermined roots. I had my first exhibition when I was still in college, and it was at the Shark Gallery. That was in England, and I had a couple of group exhibitions at the Riviera Gallery. When I came to Egypt, I didn't actually exhibit anything until quite late, about 2009. My first exhibition was at the Kunst in Cairo. I've also exhibited at the Alexandria Atelier, and I was one of the chief speakers at the UNESCO Art for Education. And then I exhibited in Cairo Atelier, and I've exhibited at the Ostraka Gallery in downtown. I've exhibited in Luxor and in Cairo, several times in Cairo and several times in Alexandria, including the UNESCO Art in Education project. I was one of the chief speakers at that. Egypt has some wonderful artists that I've met personally, and I'm quite impressed with a lot of their ability. And the nice thing is that we can discuss art, usually in English, but we can discuss art, and even when we don't have the language, we still have the ability to communicate ideas. My experience in travelling and moving around, meeting people, that changes the way we see things. Only by knowing different cultures, different people, do we get to understand them. I think that's the most important thing in the end about art, is that wherever you go across the world, it's the one thing that does unite people. We're all different, all artists are different. We all see things in our own particular way, but the one thing is, in the end, that we're all artists. Travelling, moving around, does expand your horizons, but it's not just going to a new place, it's meeting the new people, getting new ideas. That's why I like going to the big events, because you get to meet so many different artists, and you get to exchange perceptions.